Morning! Hi, hey, hello. Welcome to another morning journaling session here on Imperfect TV. How are we all this week? What's been happening? Tell me all about it. But today we are going to discover and learn how trauma has defined our lives and why we allow ourselves to believe that. Because it is a belief, right? We all believe that when we've been through trauma, it's all we can see and all we are, but it's definitely not. We are so much more than our trauma. Our trauma are our experiences, they are things that we can call upon when we need resilience and just strength, really. So let's dive into that this morning. We're going to have 4 journaling prompts as normal this morning. And we are going to, I am going to leave you for nearly 2 minutes while you have a go at each of those journaling prompts. And then we will catch up afterwards. But before all that, I am going to give you some things to reflect on during the journaling process and all good things like that. So this morning is going to be very interesting. It's going to be probably very eye-opening too. So if you're wondering who I am and why I am spouting all this morning at you, it's because I am a recovery life coach based here in the UK. And I have lived experiences with trauma, both sexual and domestic assault. And I believe in helping female trauma survivors, helping trauma survivors however I can by allowing them the space and time to talk and to embrace their recovery. And that's basically what I am doing here this morning. So people come to me when they are afraid that they can feel that their trauma is taking over and they feel like they've put their life on hold and that their emotions are stifled because of different traumatic triggers that they may come up against throughout their lives. And that is so not the case. We are going to delve into all that this morning. Allow your emotions to come out. Allow yourself to feel what you feel. It's completely normal. Every trauma survivor has been where you are now. So that's what we're going to look at. We're going to discover how your trauma has impacted your life to claim some of that back. So this is about you taking that power back for yourself this morning. One quote that I want to share with you is from one of my favorite authors. Everybody will know me who follows me on Life with Gemma Blythe. And then, of course, my Gembee's vlog channel coming back soon. Subscribe, join, follow me. It's going to be so good. But one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite authors, she describes it perfectly, is rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I built my life. And that is a quote from J.K. Rowling. She came from nothing. She experienced trauma. She used trauma to her advantage. She put it in her work. Think about that. She used her trauma and put it in her work. How powerful is that? So, as you are journaling this morning, I want you to hold these 3 things in your mind, okay? You can climb out of wherever you are. Your experiences are part of you. You have the power to overcome and make things better for you. Okay? So it's all about taking that power back, realizing the fact of, yes, you are in control again. And realizing that your experiences are just that. They are your experiences. It no longer controls you. They no longer control you. And you can just embrace where you are on your healing journey, wherever that may be. Because these sessions are for everybody. I can't stress that enough. I put these on for everybody. Okay. So, without further ado, let's move on to the first prompt this morning, which is all about how trauma has affected your self-worth and your identity, because those are the two common things that trauma can affect first, or affect, I should say. So, how has trauma shaped your self-worth and identity? Notice it says your sense of self-worth and identity. So, during this, I want you to reflect upon how you think about yourself now, after the trauma, and how you perceived yourself before the trauma. What beliefs you have formed about your value, your capabilities, and your place in this world, because you have a place. You can use your place. Trust on that. And any aspects you've disconnected yourself from. So these can be aspects of your life that you've maybe forgotten or struggled to remember after the trauma. That is so common for everybody to go through, disconnection after trauma. I cannot tell you how common that is. So take this time to yourself to journal and to rediscover and reconnect and see where it takes you. So you have nearly 2 minutes. I'll leave the prompt up on the screen and I will see you afterwards. Okay, welcome back. I hope that was useful in discovering your perception of yourself, and the way that you think about yourself now isn't necessarily the way it was back then, nor is the way that you thought about yourself back then where it is now. And that's there to show you that our perceptions of ourselves can change over time. And it's our thing not to become bogged down with that. Don't be cross, don't beat yourself up about it. It's just where you are. It's that foundation, it's that starting point. Don't forget, this is you learning how to embrace yourself as you are now. So, all the different quirks that you may have developed, and all of the things that people don't necessarily realize about you and recognize about you now. And none of those are a bad thing. It's just the way you are. And as I constantly say, learning, recovering from trauma, they are not about perfection. It's about how we get there. They're about the imperfections. Nobody's recovery is linear. We need to throw that out of the window right now. Nobody's recovery is linear. Nobody's life is linear. Social media can tell us many things, but most of it is aimed at perfection and filters. Let's embrace the unfiltered life. Okay, so that being said, that was the first prompt. Let me know what you got out of that. What did you find out? Did you find out something that you've always known about yourself? Or did you find out something new? Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that one. And we are going to move on to the second one. She says, okay. So this is all about how trauma has affected your relationships with others. So it's about looking at the ways trauma has affected your relationships with others. So this could be your friends, family, romantic partners. Maybe the trust has deteriorated a little bit. Maybe you lack intimacy, which is completely not your fault. Neither is the trust. Communication styles, maybe they've changed. Maybe you're a bit more guarded than you used to be. But maybe you've also discovered different patterns, different ways that you talk to people, different ways that people talk to you that have changed, which can turn into patterns that we notice over time. And maybe you have a difficulty with setting boundaries with certain people. That can be an interesting one. So, or maybe you have a fear of abandonment, the fear that somebody is just going to drop you at the touch of a hat or touch of like a finger on wood or something like that. So it's all about delving into how strong the relationships are between you and the people that you have around you, which I call the support circle. So again, I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Delve in, root around, don't be afraid, and see what you come up with. Remember, this is a powerful thing, what you are doing this morning. If you didn't experience any emotion doing this, I would be surprised. So take your time, get to know yourself, get to know where you are now. Again, I'm going to give you just under 2 minutes. Okay, don't forget, if you're watching this back, you can pause this here and then join me whenever you want to. Take your time, breathe through it. Okay, so what came up for you? I know that challenges with vulnerability around people is quite common. That's what comes up a lot when people talk to me about the trauma that they've experienced. And vulnerability is an interesting one, right? Because it feels like we have to let our guard down with those around us. And you should never be forced to do that. You know when the right time to do that is. That's one thing that trauma gives you. It gives you a sixth sense as to how those around you may be feeling. But sometimes it's about not letting the way that they feel about you affect you in that way. Sometimes it's about letting the way that they feel guide you. And then you know just how much you can open up in that moment and how much you feel capable of divulging to them. That's what that's about. So I hope you got some interesting insights during that of how your relationships look like now after the trauma and how they did before, and then how you can implement different things that we're going to be talking about over the coming weeks on setting boundaries, on challenge or targeting your emotion into your passions, and rediscovering those hobbies and talking just openly about your feelings with others. Those are just a few things that we're going to be delving into over the next few weeks. So there's plenty to come. So the next point I want to bring up is the way trauma affects your emotional and physical responses today. So this is delving into maybe our triggers, our emotional responses, physical responses in different situations. So those are the things that you need to reflect on during this time to truly get a picture of the different ways you can target that and the different ways you can challenge those emotions. Remember, this isn't about changing anything. This is about looking at how you see things, realizing how you see things, and knowing how to target them. This is what makes it such a powerful tool when I talk about the value of therapy and the value of keeping yourself accountable and knowing a life coach that keeps you accountable during your recovery with all your hobbies, with all of your new habits. So, those are the building blocks. And during this, it's all about looking at your body responses and your emotional responses. So, if you're in situations that are similar, if you are in an environment that is similar, then these can be a good things to reflect back on. So you might not realize why your body reacts in that way, why you feel a certain way when you're in that environment, or why you react a certain way if you hear the perpetrator's name and things like that. It's all about assessing, figuring out, fathoming your responses, no matter whether they're emotional ones or physical ones. And then looking at the connections from these to past traumas too. That is where the secret lies. So I'm going to give you nearly 2 minutes again to have a go and see what you come up with. Doing this is so interesting, right? Because you get to know yourself on a deeper level. It's so much fun. Okay, how was that? I know delving into your emotional and physical responses can be quite challenging as it gets you to look at yourself from different angles and maybe different questions have emerged within you that I would be really intrigued to know if you have any more questions after that, for you to potentially delve in deeper to and discover in maybe your own independent journaling sessions. That would be really intriguing to know. So, the next one gets you to discover more about yourself that is necessarily or unnecessarily actually might have gone under the radar and that you may not have noticed happening after trauma. So, this is about parts of you that have been put on hold. Now, what do I mean by that? When you put parts of your life on hold, it's like somebody's gone up and put a massive stop sign right in the middle of the road you want to go down. So this could be with different hobbies, this could be with different passions, this could be with different causes that you feel strongly about. This could be with your dreams, your aspirations, any of that. Maybe you had a roadmap of where you wanted to go and where you wanted to be. And maybe that's come to a halt. And why? So, this is getting you to consider the things that you've put on hold and what it would look like to reawaken that, to take that stop sign down, to chuck it away. What would that look, what would that look like to you? To take that barrier down, to live your life as you once saw it. What would that look like? Would you be where you are now? Would you be in a different town? Would you live in a different country? What would you do? What would that look like to you? Now I'm going to give you nearly 2 minutes to do this, but something really cool that you could do is turn this into a vision board in your spare time by taking that stop sign down and challenging yourself to look at your life from the different angles and think, what am I passionate about? What do I believe in? What aspirations do I have? What purpose and passion do I have? That's what this gets you to do. What would it look like to reclaim all of that? So I'm going to give you nearly 2 minutes to do this. Again, write down whatever comes into your mind. That blank page is your playground. Use it. Have fun with it. Get creative with it. Okay. So, what were the things you got from that? What were the things that you've not necessarily consciously put on hold? I know when I look back over my own list, I was shocked. I couldn't believe half the things that I put on there. So, what that gets you to do is it gets you to think, it gets you excited about where you are now. It gets you wanting to live all those moments and wanting to explore even more into your passions and just projects that you may have put on hold that you'd forgotten about. So sit and think about that and do create that vision board and let me know what's come up on that for you. Let me know how it feels to share things that have appeared on that. Right, so all that's left for me to say is that, just in a quick recap, we've looked at how trauma has shaped our lives. We've looked at the relationships that we've nurtured and changed and the boundaries that may have shifted since the trauma. We've looked at how trauma affects not only our physical responses, but our emotional ones too. And then we've looked at what would happen if we did take that stop sign down. And if we did allow ourselves to take on our passions and projects that we may have left to one side unconsciously after the trauma. Take this time this week to look back, reflect on your answers, see if any of them have changed. And if you are watching this up on YouTube, take the time to do the same after you've answered all the prompts. And see if things change and shift. Because you may get different answers from them. Maybe each day. Maybe each 3 days. But take the time to sit back and consider where you are now and think of it as a starting point rather than a full stop. So thank you so much for joining me this week. Set your reminders for next week. There will be 4 new prompts, 4 new opportunities to get to know yourself on a deeper level. And just say, if somebody asks what you're doing, say, be right back, journaling. Much love. Stay imperfect, stay you, and see you next week.